Rustic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Happy Thursday, everyone. Can you believe it is only a week until Christmas? Just crazy to me, you guys. For today's video, I have some thrift flips for you, and the theme is winter whites. I decided this year, rather than jumping straight from Christmas into spring, which is what I traditionally do just because I get so excited about spring, I wanted to kind of slow down and concentrate more on some winter themes. So I created a vignette for today using just the color white. I did add in one green thing, you guys, but I really, again, wanted to kind of create a display here in the shop focusing on the winter whites. So that's kind of what I did for today's video. I hope you like the projects, and without further ado, let's get to today's video. Now, as I stated in the intro, my theme for today are winter whites, and this first project is a very simple makeover of these two pillar holders using DIY's white Swan. Now I know white Swan isn't a color you guys see me use very often, but for this video, I am going to be using it on 3 different projects. So this one is the first one again, and I am really trying not to completely take away the rustic feel of these candle holders. So I'm not giving them complete coverage with the paint, and I'm only going to be going over them with one coat. So again, just not overloading my brush, letting it kind of dry itself out as I'm going around. And once I'm finished, I'm going to let these guys dry, and then I'm going to bring in a damp shop towel and honestly wipe back quite a bit of that paint so you can really see some of that wood tone shining through from underneath. Now, of course, as I've mentioned many times before, DIY paint is clay-based and it does need to be sealed. And my favorite sealer for their paint is their waxes. I love the fact that they have several different colors of wax and that you can use them to bring out something completely different in each piece if you want. So for these, I am starting with a base coat of clear wax, and I'm putting that on pretty liberally because these are kind of rough candle holders and I wanted to smooth them out a little bit, and I think the wax kind of does a good job of that. So I put a liberal coat on, and then I'm going over and wiping back the excess really well with a dry shop towel on each of these. Now for these candle holders, I really wanted to stick to this kind of rustic feel that they had, and I felt like a great way to enhance that a little bit was with some dark wax by DIY. So I grabbed that out and I'm just going in with a little artist brush, and I am applying the dark wax only in some of the details and in places where I feel like they would naturally have some sort of patina to them. So around these little details in the bottom, and then again in the little details around the tops, just adding a touch of that dark wax to really kind of darken that up, add a little bit of patina and age to these, and really kind of enhance that rustic feel. Once I was finished with the dark wax, my pillar holders were done, and I have to say, I really love how they came out. I think this look is a real upgrade for them, and I think they're also the perfect starting point for my winter white vignette. Project 2 is honestly a bit of a last minute addition to my vignette. I had the other 3 projects finished, honestly, and then I found this in my stash and thought it would make a cool addition to my vignette. So I decided to give it a makeover. I am starting by taking the iron part out of the frame and setting it aside, and then I did give both of them a good bath, and this is me just drying it up and getting it ready for paint. To start this project, I am going over the frame with 2 good coats of DIY's Cottage color called Anvil. Now I know this isn't white, but rest assured I will be going over the Anvil with a white. I did end up going over the frame with 2 coats of the Anvil before starting in with my white. And for my white for this project, I chose Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Flour Sack, which is their whitest of whites. And I am going over this frame with 1 good coat of that Flour Sack paint with no extra bond in it. And once I have that first coat down, I'm going to hit it with my hairdryer and a little heat to hopefully encourage my paint to give me some crackle. Now I know it's almost impossible to see in the video, but I assure you that I did get some really good crackle on that first coat of paint. So once that was done and it was dry, I did the same procedure over a couple more times just so that I had good coverage on my frame, drying with my hair dryer in between each coat to make sure that that crackle came all the way through. While my frame was drying, I grabbed out the piece of metal that went in the middle, and I was kind of looking at it, and it had quite a bit of green in it that I wasn't really thrilled with. So I decided to just go over it with some of the milk paint too. So I am basically dry brushing some of that Flour Sack paint over both sides of this frame or this iron. Again, just not really wanting full coverage, just kind of leaving some of the metal to show through, but kind of helping to cover up some of the green that was in it. Now, of course, my paint still didn't have any extra bond in it, but I really didn't have a lot of it flake back off, and I wanted a more chippy finish, so I did take some sandpaper to it and just kind of scuffed it up a little bit to get some of that metal color showing through the white paint. Then it was back to my frame, and I am doing the same thing here. I'm doing a little bit of distressing and some sanding just to make sure I've got a nice smooth surface before I finish up with some wax. Now, Sweet Pickins milk paint also needs to be sealed, and for this project, I decided to go ahead and go with DIY waxes, and I'm starting again with a coat of their clear wax, and I'm just brushing that on and then wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. Now, even though the theme of today is winter whites, I wanted each piece to have a little bit of a different finish and feel than the others. So for this one, I am going in with DIY's black wax just for something a little different, but the black wax will really help to enhance the crackle that I got in the paint. It'll sink down into those cracks. You can kind of see it here and just really make them stand out. And then when I wipe it back with a dry shop towel, it leaves just a little bit of patina, and just enough to really kind of tone the white down a touch. Once I had finished with the frame, it was time to seal the paint on the iron portion that goes in the center. And for that, I am again just using my DIY clear wax to go over everything, and then just doing my best to get into all of the little places in that iron with a dry shop towel to wipe back as much of the excess wax as I possibly could. Then it's just time to put my frame back together again. I just screwed everything down the way that I found it, and my little project is finished. In the end, I'm glad that I added this to my vignette. I think it's a perfect fit, and I hope you guys like it too. My third project is this cute little wooden bench that was given to me by one of my customers a while back. And this is going to be the only project that I actually put a different color other than white on. I am starting though by giving it a bath. It was pretty dusty. I'm washing it down with some crud cutter, and then I am going to rinse it off with some clean water before I get started painting. Now, even though I'm not painting this little bench white, I still wanted it to have kind of a springy, fresh look to it. So I went with a green. This green is called Garden Sage. It's one of the Cottage colors by DIY. This is a great paint because it has a built-in sealer and it dries very, very smooth, which is nice. And the other thing I love about the Cottage colors is that they are a breeze to add transfers to, and I knew I wanted to put a transfer on this little bench, which is one of the reasons that I picked the color that I did. I did end up putting 2 coats of the Garden Sage on the little bench, and once that was completely dry, I went in with some 220 grit sandpaper to do some distressing. Now, honestly, these Cottage colors dry really, really hard, and I probably should have used a little heavier grit sandpaper. I had to use some elbow grease just to get it to sand off the paint around the corners, and over the flat surfaces, I really didn't get very much peek through of the wood tone, but that's okay. I just went ahead and moved on to wiping everything down with a damp shop towel to get my little bench ready for a transfer. I figured this would be a great project to use up a little bit of this transfer on. This has beautiful whites and greens in it. It's called Trellis Flowers. It's one of the older tube transfers by Redesign with Prima that I've had in my stash for ages. And this again was just a perfect project to use it on with the green and white. So I cut the piece of transfer that I wanted, and then I laid it on the back side of my little bench and I pressed it down with my fingers, and then I'm going to begin applying using the transfer stick that comes with the transfer. Now, if you've never applied a transfer before, they are a very easy way to really upgrade a piece. You start by peeling off the backer of the transfer and then laying it down where you want it. I usually smooth mine out with my hands or my fingers, and then you just begin rubbing the transfer down while you peel back the piece of vellum. You just want to go slow and make sure that all of your transfer is adhered before you move on. Once your transfer is applied, you can take a piece of that vellum and just rub over the transfer very well. This helps eliminate wrinkles and air bubbles and just burnishes it in really well to your piece. Now, I did cut out a couple of the larger white flowers just to bring more of that white to this piece, and I added those in over the top of the other transfer. That's one of the beautiful things about these transfers is they layer very well. It's good practice to go over your transfers with some sort of a top coat to keep them protected. And even though the Garden Sage paint doesn't need a sealer, I went over my entire little bench with a coat of DIY dark wax. This is going to not only protect my transfer, but also add just a little bit of patina to this Garden Sage paint, give it a more rustic feel. And I love the way the dark wax just kind of stays in the cracks and crevices of this bench to really bring out the details. So I'm just brushing that on again with a soft bristle brush and then wiping back the excess wax. Once I'm finished waxing my little bench, it is finished, and I love the way that it came out. I think it's a perfect addition to add a pop of color to my winter white vignette, and I really hope you guys like it too. My fourth and final project is this very dilapidated old child's school chair. This was also given to me by a customer, and of course the back is missing. I will address that here in a little bit, but first I needed to shore up the bottom of this poor little chair. It was falling apart everywhere. I grabbed out my wood glue and my rubber mallet and just added some glue to all of the holes and the pegs, and then just hammered everything back together again until it was back to the shape that it should be. Once I was finished with the repair work, it was time to address the two large holes in the top where the back of it should have been. I am going to be filling those with Bondo. If you've never used Bondo before, it is very, very stinky stuff. So I had to go outside to do this. Thankfully, the rain quit just long enough for me to be able to mix up my Bondo and get these holes filled. So it's a two-part process. You just add a little bit of the hard hardener to the main component. I forgot to tape off the bottom, so this is me taping the bottom holes so that the Bondo just doesn't drip out. And once that's done, I'm filling these holes with the Bondo. Now I had to let this little thing dry outside because, again, very, very stinky. But once it was dry, I went ahead and sanded down the Bondo. So I'm just going over everything with my little orbital sander, making sure it's nice and smooth. I also went ahead and tackled some of the failing finish that was on the top of this, and I cleaned up some of the legs as well. Once I was finished sanding, it was time to bring my little stool back inside and give it a bath. I'm going over it with a pretty liberal coat of Crud Cutter and then wiping that back. And then I took it over to my sink and actually just rinsed it really, really well there. And then once that was done, I dried it off with another shop towel. I let my little stool completely dry, and then I grabbed out my shellac and I just sprayed over where the Bondo was in those two holes, just to seal it so that you didn't see it when I went over everything with my paint. For this project, I'm going back to DIY's White Swan, and I'm going in with 2 good even coats over the entire little stool. Once I was finished with my paint and it was completely dry, I took my little stool back outside to sand it. I am going to do some heavy distressing on this. I really want it to have more of a rustic, kind of shabby look to it. And so I'm going over the entire piece with some 220 grit sandpaper. And again, just really working it, trying to get down to the wood in places so that some of that beautiful tone is shining through this white paint. Once I was happy with my distressing, I took my little stool back inside and I actually rinsed it off in my sink again and then let it dry. Now, initially I had planned on adding a transfer to the top of my little stool. However, I ended up changing my mind. I decided that I really just wanted the whites to be what stood out in this vignette and not the decor that was on them. So I'm just keeping it simple and I'm sealing up my paint with some DIY clear wax, and then I'm going to call it good. You can see here I had to go in with a little brush in some of the areas to make sure and get everything sealed up. But in the end, I absolutely love this clean, crisp, white little stool. I think it looks so much better than it did when I started, and I really hope you guys like it too. it from here for today, you guys. I hope you liked my projects. What did you think of my winter white theme for today? I really am kind of excited to leave up a few things from Christmas. Not necessarily Santa and snowmen, but maybe some of the trees, and just try to concentrate on a cozy, wintry, clean, crisp look in one of my big displays here in the shop. That is my goal. Hopefully I can pull it all together. We will see, fingers crossed, but today's little thrift flips will definitely help get me started in that direction. So I hope you liked them. If you did enjoy today's video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And then of course, just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know if you had a favorite project in today's vignette. Let's see. Oh, just a quick reminder too, the paint and products you see me use can be purchased through me at my website, and that is www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. It's listed below in the description box. And I carry DIY paint and products as well as Sweet Pickins milk paint and products, along with some Recycled Treasures decoupage papers, which she is coming out with a brand new release, and of course Redesign with Prima. And they have a fantastic new release that is coming out in January. Can't wait to show it to you guys. I've already got it on order, so stay tuned. That'll be in a future video. And then let's see, for Sunday's video, I have a thrift haul for you guys. It's not a huge haul, again, relatively small, but I have some things rolling around, literally rolling around in the back of my car that I really need to get out of there. So that is going to be for Sunday. So I hope you can join me back here then for that video. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, or rest of the week, and beginning of the weekend. And I will see you on Sunday. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I'll see you then. Bye.